Do you often feel like you have loads of contacts on your phone, but don't have up to 4 friends that you can actually trust? Do you feel like you're lonely and you have nobody to talk to when it comes to the serious business? Do you feel isolated, sometimes anxious in social gatherings, and in rare occasions depressed? Do you feel you are lonely? Do you sometimes perhaps go on social media and see people out every day, or see weddings and see 10 bridesmaids and you cannot produce 5? If you feel this way, then you're not alone, sadly. I have felt the same way, and I did some research and I realized that it was an epidemic across different age groups, different continents, and the one common thing is that feeling of being alone. I did this because I felt this exact same way. I have friends, I have a few friends, but I still feel very lonely. And I decided to do some research, and I realized that, oh my God, there were various videos I saw, so much information I read, a lot of research, and it was an eye-opener. And because I have this channel where I express myself and try to add value, I decided to put my spin on it and talk about the epidemic of loneliness. But before we dive in, I'll just introduce myself if this is the first time that you've come across one of my videos. My name is Lua. I create content around various day-to-day issues, especially to do with self-improvement, my weight loss journey, and just family vlogs as a mom. But this topic, I just thought that I'll shed some more light on my opinion. And let's talk first of all, that feeling of being lonely is not just you. I know it doesn't make you feel better, but that's the fact. And there are different reasons, a plethora of reasons why you'll feel lonely, alone. Sometimes feeling like there's nobody you can say call if you're stranded in a country, or if you're facing a deep problem. You have friends that you can chit chat, but people that you can trust might be completely absent. And I have done some research, talk about myself, and formulated 5 broad things that will cause you to feel lonely. The first one is pretty obvious, is once you've moved, for example, you've geographically moved locations, that could be a reason, that could be a trigger, feeling that you don't have people, don't have friends. I am using myself like a lab rat in this situation, because I, more than most people, experience geographical location or moving. I was a child who was born in a foreign country by parents who were immigrants, and I spent my first 11-12 years as an immigrant child with little or no family around. And I got moved twice for extreme cities, and all of the initial childhood friends that I had made growing up like a kid, geographics at the time and with lack of social media, they got lost. And I made more friends, and then I moved again. And then I made more friends and I moved. So I've moved to 3 different countries across different decades in my life. But my formative years were while I was 11 to 20 is where I formed most of the friends that I have today. But think about it, those friends have moved because I have, and I constantly find myself sticking with a few people that might not be close to me, but as we move along, you lose ties. And again, even in the same country, I was in another situation where I moved towns, where I lived in a cosmopolitan city which was close to most people that I knew, and I went away to the suburbs with little or no friends. And that's where my past 7 years has really gone downhill, with this feeling of loneliness, where I had to make brand new friends that are superficial, either the kids' friends in school or friends you meet in parties or in the shops. And I have battled that feeling for a long time. That is what most people resonate with. The other very obvious reason why you might find yourself lonely or feeling isolated or feeling without friends is if you have been hurt. Now, I think that is like rhetoric. We all have been hurt at some point in our lives, but not everybody handles being hurt or lack of trust the same. If you have a falling out, that is a very obvious reason why perhaps you would kind of lose friends that you've had. And when you have a falling out with one person, you don't just lose friends with that one person, it tends to be a trickle effect. So you lose a few friends. And again, that feeling of not having anybody you can trust, it comes in. That's another reason why people lose friends. The third thing is a change in dimension. Hear that again. Not all your friends can go with you when you change dimensions. When I talk about change dimensions, it doesn't mean that, oh, you've left from being this broke girl to this girl who is earning 6 figures. No, it could be the other way around. It could be a 6-figure earner to a housewife. It could be you from doing very well at work, deciding to step back. It could be you deciding to pursue more, or it could be you just being single to married, or married to single. Sometimes more religious to less. It could be anything. But one thing I know is that once you're changing dimensions, not everybody can cross with you. And that is something that we need to accept. That sometimes people think that once you progress, you have less friends. It doesn't mean that the friends don't want you. It could be both sides. But a change in dimension is one that I know that not everybody has the capacity, the capability, the resilience to go with you, and that's completely okay. The next thing I'll talk about is very close to what I've just said, but it's really once you're pursuing more in life. This is more specific, and I can talk about that for myself. There was a point that I was really big on being an entrepreneur. I had a full-time job. I'm a full-time mom, but I decided to go into a side hustle, and it took a lot of my time, especially sourcing from the Far East. I was not sleeping well, and I just lost friends because I couldn't keep in touch. Not because I felt like I was too big, I just did not have the time to keep in touch, and I lost quite a few friends in that way. And I started feeling lonely, I started feeling all by myself, I started feeling sometimes actually depressed. That's something that's common. There's a saying where they say it's lonely at the top. I was not at the top, but I could smell how lonely it could be. Even being a content creator with a full-time job, this is a side hustle, right? So it means that I spend a lot of time creating, editing, and being out there, meaning that I have time for my friends less. And God, those friends of mine who've managed to hang around with all of that are really the friends that are friends, because I wouldn't hang around myself in those circumstances. That's the other thing, is moving up. Yeah. And the next one, which is the fourth, is social media. Accept it or not, social media is two ways. If you're a consumer of social media, you know what I mean. You're scrolling on Instagram, you're scrolling on TikTok, on WhatsApp, on Snapchat, on Facebook, on YouTube, and people partying their lives away. People in restaurants with their phones, and you're at home biting your fingers, or just sitting down with your lounging with your joggers, and you think, I have no friends. There's two things you have to note. If I, as a content creator, I don't create content when I go out, then that's not a side hustle. I have to show you the fun. If I sat down lounging, you wouldn't watch me. That's no joke. So you need to realize that if you are looking at social media, you will definitely feel this way, and that's why a lot of people are affected by that. That's another thing. You lose the moment all the time because we're trying to do this to that. It doesn't mean anything. And let's go to the last one, which I think is underestimated. I think COVID. There will be a time, believe you me or not, where people call the times that we've lived in the past pre or post COVID, because the changes that COVID brought, we've not even discovered half of it. I remember doing a video a few years ago, I think a year ago, on the effects of COVID on kids who were born who are now say 2 to 4. I have a child within that range, so I know. Before COVID, when your manager told you to work from home once a week, you were so happy. You were doing cartwheels. You felt like you were in a very good position. Now, looking for work, when we are looking to recruit people, if you told anybody that they had to come 3 days a week, they will tell you, show off that job away, I don't want it. Things have changed that much. Even when we go into the office, we are left alone. I used to share an office, and I worked in a very old-fashioned environment where we had these offices that we shared spaces, and at the time it was almost impossible for me to be by myself. Now I go into the office and I'm with people, but I'm alone. I have my headsets on. I want to avoid people. I want to be by myself half the time. It's really, really difficult to make sense. But I think because we've lived by ourselves, we celebrated birthdays, funerals, weddings, milestones, graduations over the internet, we don't understand the reason why we want to see people. And then we complain that we're lonely. You can't eat your cake and have it. It's a double-edged sword. So accept it or not, COVID has played a massive impact on our interactions, especially once we started going back out. I feel anxious when I go out now in an environment. I feel like an antisocial insect. I find myself very, very, I find overstimulation a problem. I have given you a myriad of possible reasons why you're feeling lonely, without friends, and alone, and it's depressing to hear. And you need to note that it's not healthy not being alone or feeling like you don't have friends. It could diminish your cognitive senses or cognitive behavior in later life. It's even been linked to things like depression. It's been linked to things like onset of Alzheimer's and other mental problems in the future. So it is important that we nip it in the bud. Even if we can't, we need to be realistic and understand that we're not alone, and how can we fix it. Now, I have spoken about the problem. I'm going to tell you about the things that have helped me since I recognized this a few months ago to feel better about myself. And the first thing I'll say, without even thinking, is confidence. I think that once you're a confident person, a lot of your friends will pick that confidence up. Confidence is something that people say either you have it or you don't. I disagree. You can fake it. You can have that feeling that I'm enough. Consciously make up your mind that we walk into a room and your air of confidence, people gravitate towards you, and you find that people want to be your friend. That's one thing. And even if you don't have friends, the confidence to say I am an introvert, I don't need friends, is still okay because they help you mentally. Or the confidence to say I'm not an introvert and I need friends, you will make them. So confidence for me embodies a lot of the solutions that you'll get once you feel lonely. The second thing I'll say about the feeling of loneliness to fix it is by being more forgiving, have more compassion, empathy, having the intelligence, the discernment to know when to draw the line, because not all friends deserve second chance. I know that, but a lot of our friends that we've had do deserve second chances. What do? You just set boundaries. So that's another way, because a big reason why people fall out is because they feel like they've been hurt and they cannot forgive, which is understandable, but it's not an excuse. You need to just learn to tolerate people's excesses and forgive. I have the biggest lesson I've learned approaching 40, by the way, very soon, and I'm doing a video which I'll probably pin at the end of this on the lessons I've learned while in 30, things I wish I had done. I wish I was more forgiving. If you know me, I have a spirit where I find it hard to forgive once you've hurt me, but you're just keeping stuff and overbearing. It's like you're carrying a load that you don't have to bear. Yes, forgiveness is for yourself entirely, not for the next person. The other thing that I'll say that could help you is, the saying where I said it's lonely at the top? I don't completely agree, because I believe that the people there who have already crossed where you're about to cross or where you've just crossed, people who feel lonely need friends. Look for people who have common interests like yourself. It's not hard to find if you look properly. There are people who are feeling the same, maybe new entrepreneurs, new first-time moms. There are different reasons why you feel left out. If you've just maybe gotten married, you're struggling to navigate the whole thing of living with somebody and doing this thing called life, look for people who are newlyweds, for example. There's things for everything. Look for them and form those bonds, because at that point you guys have the same sort of common interests and goals. That's the other thing that I'll say that will help you. And the main thing I think that will make a difference with not feeling lonely, not feeling alone, not feeling like you have no friends, is by making an effort to keep relationships that you already have, if it is worth it. We all can be selfish. I don't know, I have friends who have stuck with me. And the way to do it, you might say, it's so busy, I don't have time. I'm sure you have time to eat. You can actually set an alarm on your phone. I have a friend who has kept with all her relationships. I'm so envious. Not only friends, family. And she says, Loa, I have a date. She's watching it, she'll know who she is. A day where I binge call all my friends and family. I set a time. And that was remarkable because I look at my phone list and I have calls from 3 years ago because I don't talk to that many people because I'm always engrossed in something. I feel it's ambition, but there's a thin line between cutting yourself up and being ambitious. That's it. So try to make that effort to put like family with people that you consider sisters. 1 minute, how are you? And then I'm guilty of this and I'm trying to get to the better version of myself. The other thing that I'll say you can do to help this feeling of being lonely is not to believe what you see on social media. I tell you, don't believe it, because trust me, most people who you see are as lonely or even more lonely than you, but they have to create content. Perhaps if they do this for like content creators so that they entertain you. It's a script sometimes. Sometimes people actually have that social life, but at what cost? One thing you need to remember is that you can go out. You can be in a room full of people, but you still feel like you're alone. That is when you believe that your issues are much more that deeper. And going out will not solve it. Is actually knowing the few people who matter, not going out social media. When I go out for meaningful outings, meaningful meals, I don't always video it because I'm lost in the moment. So when you stay on social media, it's half the story. I can tell you it's half the story. It's not always what it is. And lastly, I've learned about the stage in life called growth. Growth means that certain things that you did before, you can't do them anymore. If you used to go out partying, falling on the floor on a Friday night, and you prefer to just sit down in a chilled environment, that is still okay. You'll get new friends along the way, especially if you're younger. But I'll say that when you're in your 20s, when you're wild partying, have no care, you cannot keep the same number of friends. So I always call it a funnel. My friends are going down a funnel. As I get older and getting to 40, I have less. In fact, when I look at my 18th birthday pictures, trying to get a list for my friends, for my 40th, I cannot even remember some names of people who came for my party. And we're talking, that was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. So yes, there is the stages growth and there are change. When people say to me, you've changed, you've really changed. You think you're being insulting? It's a compliment. Thank you. Because change is the only constant. Change means that I'm going somewhere. So I find that like a fantastic compliment. People tell me that now because I've learned and I've grown up. I hope that this has helped you to feel less lonely and to remember that all of this is in the mind. You need to heal your mind. You need to be able to appreciate the people that appreciate you. Be more forgiving. Be more compassionate. I know that life is short. Live your best life. If you have 4 friends that matter, you don't have to have a school of friends. You don't have to have a party full of people that love you, because honestly, only a handful of people actually care about you right now. I hope that this has helped you to go out there. Don't feel alone. Don't wallow in self-pity, because there's a lot of us going through this epidemic. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and you have any other comments to make, if it's helped you, please share to somebody who might help their mental health. And I'll see you in my next video, and I'll be filming a video on the lessons that I've learned in turning 40, and that will come just after this. If you're interested, give that a watch, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.